This is Living Your Life Well Planned, the 80-20-365 system invented by Adam Vincent Gilmer. My name's Gene Velitis. I'm your host on these episodes, and here we come on episode number 24. The past three episodes and tying this one in today, if I were you, I would binge episodes, listen, view, whatever you're doing, this episode and the last three if you haven't already listened to the last three. Because we've taken you from a civilian and we've tried to make you right now into a high performance person. There's a lot more to go, but we hope we now have you at a nice little level. These podcasts, these videos are free, and you've heard us stress in previous episodes how important it is to have your daily planner. So please get your planner. It's about $1 a day. 80-20-365.com is where you order it from. And if you can't get FedEx and that kind of service in your country, we'll get it to you. You'll just you'll print it off and you can start using it. Well, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs. Adam has given a lot of information, and we hope by now that you're using it and you're getting results and you're getting excited. But maybe you're having some days where you're asking yourself, is this working? Because you're going to have days where you're going to say, this is fantastic, but you know what it's like when you just don't have a great day. But there's a way to deal with that. So first of all, let's talk about people, Adam, who are really being successful and they're having a high. They're having a high day. I think there's a tendency for some people to become real egotistical, unnice people. Or I think there's the other kind of a person who wants to share their success with others, take them out for dinner, buy a cake, have a little party, a Zoom celebration thing. So take us through how to deal with highs and lows, please.
All right. So obviously we all love the highs and we hate lows, but we tend to learn more from the lows than we do the highs. Okay. And the lows tend to set us back and tend to have us thinking more than just the amazing successes of, whatever the success item is for the day or the result that you got.
Now, hang on. Whoa. Hang on here. You're telling me the lows tend to teach you more than the highs?
1,000%, yes.
Wow.
Okay. However, a lot of people allow lows to drag them down even more versus looking at it as a different way to approach it. The creation of the light bulb, flying or the creation of flight. It's really funny, but the Wright brothers, the distance that they first flew is about now the same distance as the wingspan of a 747. So you understand that they just did that. Boom, learned how to fly. But it wasn't that success of learning how to fly that made them persist and succeed. What it was is each time they crashed or each time they messed up, the lows of that led them to the decision of saying to make it better, which allowed them to finally gain flight. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in building, a home. It's the same thing, or going after some goal. There tends to be this euphoric feeling like even if you hit the goal, how long would you stay completely excited for? Is it what? Is it you don't stay excited for a year, you don't stay excited for 6 months, you don't stay excited for a week. It's euphoric. It's an emotion that happens like boom, and you're high. And then what happens from that high, because that's where your emotion state was, there's a falling off cooling period. And usually, you stay excited for, really, really, really excited in the moment for maybe an hour. Okay. Winning the championship, right? And then that there's a slow trickle down, coming down from that high. And if you don't have repeated highs, okay, and you don't have any lows, there's no way to measure. There's no way to, if it was always high all the time, and amazing and successful every single time, all the time, easy peasy, 1, 2, 3, every single person would be successful in life and business and have everything happening for them. But it's not that way. We learn more from the setbacks. And when I say learn more, you learn what not to do. And the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, looking for, a different result when the results those actions have given you. So it's like stupid to go and repeat those ones or the failures. So we're going to learn from those failures. Now, what do you do when you have a good high? You do need to celebrate. Okay. You do need to give yourself mental permission to take time off, give yourself what's like a pat on the back, spend time with people, family or people you love, or, other friends, coworkers, people that are, helped you get there or whatever the case is. And then it's also good to say, okay, to get those people together and say, man, that was a great hit. That was a good, sale, home run, whatever. Now it's time. Hey, how do we do it again? And how do we get that consistency up? And you'll find out that it's not easy to do it again. You know exactly what to do now. Now you know you've gone through the process, you've been through the piece, you've had all the meetings, you made the sale, the money got transferred, it's done, the goal's hit. And guess what? We're only as good as our next success, high or low. The low tells us what not to do and pushes us more to making a better decision to make another high happen again. And even though we have those lows, you also have to go through a period of recognizing what those no's are really teaching you. Those no's were teaching you what not to do, which is actually really a cause for celebration. Because if you understand the psychology on it is, if you now know what not to do, that's a positive. That's not a negative.
Yes.
Okay? So that's a positive. You should celebrate that.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned, and you move on and move forward. Now, there's lots of other deals and stuff that don't go through for me. It's like every single day it's massively successful. But what's happened is that from consistently doing the 7 habits, every single day, day in, day out, reading purpose statement, just having a plan. What happens now is you immediately move your head to saying, hey, you already know that these highs for the day, these 7 habits, if you can accomplish them, you're that much closer that day to hitting your goal, put in over time, making your dream a reality. And when I say a dream a reality, Gene, I'm talking about, finances. I'm talking about health. I'm talking about how you treat other people. I'm talking about relationships. It's not just one area. Okay. I'm also talking about spirituality. You've got to have motion. You got to have actions in place so that the emotions are felt. What I mean by that is the more action you take towards saying, hey, here's the new high I'm looking to develop for myself, here's the new goal, and my emotions are going to stay up. We can act as if and we'll feel our spine starts to change. And that's creating beliefs. And those beliefs is what allows us to handle the highs and the lows. How to handle the low was another belief system, and how to handle the high. And I'm not saying that, a good way to handle the high is to get out there and go wild, crazy, and, and just throw away everything. I'm saying that, put it in perspective, take the wife out, go out with people that you love and care about, spend time with people and share those successes. One of the other things I love to do with Jessica, my wife, is, when we do good and we do have another new team or we've broken some records or this, that, and the other, I always, I'm thankful and grateful that I have a wife that says, hey, go after it and make it happen. Because, she has to go after it in her responsibilities, what she's doing as a person for her goals, her dreams, her aspirations. But, that's what makes teams work. Okay. And, iron sharpens iron. And the rubbing up of making errors together or going through low times and learning how to deal with it allows for the betterment of the high time.
Yeah. And, I think virtually I can hear about 1 million ahas out there, because right now we're talking about, having a day that's really high, or having a week that's really high. You're a leader, you're a high performance leader. Things are going well. We're talking about how to deal with highs and lows. And if you have your daily planner, guess what? What's the last thing you do before you say good night? You score your day. The ultimate objective is to have a perfect 10 in every category. And if you don't, your daily planner actually gives you a tool to get maybe 1 or 2 or all categories back on track. So tomorrow you're aware of your previous score and you can aim higher because you're now a high performance leader, and you can get your highs on track. And that's part of the joy of the daily planner. Now, there's another person who also has a really great day, and they become very egotistical. They don't treat people in their sales force very well, and they let everybody know that they're the best thing since sliced bread. Now, nobody likes that guy. Nobody likes that woman. How do you deal with a person who thinks they're having a high day, but they're just being egomaniac?
Well, I think the term bipolar disorder comes up. I mean, we've all got to realize that um, life is a learning process, and we got to go. We're all learning from each other, really, right? I mean, I heard the story of this gentleman who was with Google, and he put together AdWords for Google, and he became a billionaire. Okay, because of how AdWords work. Wasn't just a search engine anymore. Now is now it had a methodology for its madness and a purpose. And nobody would go along with his prevailing assumption that here's what's going to be used when people type it in, because the words pop up. Okay, and all the advertising changes when you put it into a search engine based on what you're typing.
Right.
And that makes completely logical sense now, right? But can you imagine being the Google and saying, man, hang on, that's a complete different direction for us to have to swing into. And here it comes down to, if it wasn't for that crazy thought and idea leading them in a different direction, I'm not saying that it's egotistical, but it was like nobody believed that that was going to be the direction it went, and it went that way, which changed beliefs, prevailing assumptions, how things actually work on doing searches. It's the same thing when you got a person who's way out there thinking that they're the best thing since sliced bread. there's no overnight success that I know of, Gene. Everybody who I've seen that's done remarkably well in their lives had to put their ego in check at some point. Somebody said something to them, said, listen, I don't like the way you act. You're coming across a certain way. And it's good to have that feedback, okay, direct feedback. But they go through a place where they realize that, life isn't always high. And I see a lot of this happen sometimes in Hollywood. Okay, somebody does a great movie, and all of a sudden their life spins out of control. High, and then of course they go from a period where there's no work, and it's a low, 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 and then there's problems and this, that, and the other, and whatever, and substance abuse. And they're trying to manage the lows that way to get away the learning side of the lows, that they actually swing over to drugs to go do and get escape the low situation. The best way to handle the low situation is to write it down, go over, hey, here's what I'm learning. We talked about this. High performance people learn, they listen, they lead. Okay. And with highs and lows happening every single day in our lives, you got to manage those lows and learn and say, how quickly can I move what not to do to what should I be doing, and leading your life in a different direction. But if you have an ego, listen, there's something called like a healthy ego. Okay. And a healthy ego is somebody who is a leader. They're positive. They're sure they can get it done. They're certain that they have the ability to and the responsibility to get something done, versus somebody who is, I'm going to say, like a pompous ass. Nobody likes to be around those people. As you said, it's like it's being stuck up. Listen, we all still go to the bathroom the same way, put on our pants the same way, brush our teeth the same way, brush our hair. There is no difference. The difference really comes down into how we're handling our habitudes, our success habitudes for the day.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the direct sales industry and maybe having a bad month. I know in the direct sales industry, if you're trying to maintain some sort of a level in many companies, they use jewel box terminology. I mean, let's say you're trying to maintain whatever this, I'm just making this up, okay? I'm not being specific to any company. Let's say you're trying to maintain the gold level in company X, and you have to do a certain amount of volume. And let's just say the volume's not happening. You've had family issues. Maybe you were sick that month or something like that. Maybe your team isn't performing. So it's the last 3 days of the month. You've got to maintain your volume. You also want to make it to the next level, which means new recruits in your organization and having them reach new levels, so you reach new levels, and you're being of service and you're helping everybody out. You're doing everything you possibly can, but you're not going to make it at the end of the month, and you're on that last day, and you're not going to get into the habit of purchasing products that are going to sit in your basement to make that level. So what do you do? What do you tell your organization? You're having a down day, and they're looking at you thinking, if he's not going to make it, how am I going to make it? So how do you turn that situation around and make it into a high day? Now, listen, you've got hundreds of thousands of people in your organization, and I don't know too many people in this world who I can ask this question. And I know that you've been through this with thousands of people around the world. So you've had a great month. Suddenly you're having a bad month. You don't want to spend your own money because that's cheating. How do you get people in your sales teams out of that rut and tell them you're going to have a high day? Don't worry about this.
Right. Well, the first thing is that having highs and lows specifically, it's part of life. Okay. I've had it where I didn't hit my goals and make my monthly quotas, and I've gone through that. So, but I've learned another great technique, and here's what the technique is. I've learned to turn my frustration and being mad at the situation into becoming fascinated with the situation. Fascination shows up. It's a massive learning ability where you learn, hey, here's where we are. So what that means is, circle the wagons. Okay. And I've had to do this many times. I've had to rebuild my sales organizations different times. But when you're fascinated at it, when you understand that, direct sales is easy to get into, also very easy to get out of because of the level of commitment when it comes down to monetary, spending some money on some products. A couple $1,000, couple $100 is not a big commitment. But if you put in, $500,000 or more, there would be a big commitment. Okay, to say, I'm going to make that back. So what I want people to realize is that, I'm fortunate now where we've built the sales organization so big that it hits the monthly quotas consistently over and over and over and over again. But it didn't always do that. And what I had to do was I had to go and have a checkup from the neck up, as Zig would say, and say, okay, let me get my head in state again. Okay. And once I got into the right state, then I knew the right actions would take place. Once I take the right actions, I get results. After the results would take place, I'm like, let's repeat this, because that becomes something that you can do, and you can do it often. And then the other thing is that we teach this in the workshop and in the planner, is not every person is going to be the majority of your sales organization is going to do the minimum requirements. But there are those 5 or 6 high performance people that say, hey, listen, I've been trying to get so-and-so, I've been trying to get, hey, can you help me do a sales call? Can you bring this person on a Zoom call? And we go what's called, closing the month, chasing volume, usually the last 3 days. And what we want to know is, from those 5 or 6 people in the teams, who can we help you prospect? Who can we help close the sale with? Who can we together go and do it? And not like, hey, you go do it. I'm talking about let's go do it. Where there's 2 or more of you, working on bringing on a new sale or making a new listing or new client or, whatever. And that works very, very well. Now, if you don't hit the goal, after you've given it 100%, okay, you got to understand that this is life too. Even after you've given it 100%, and you've done every little bit of extra that you could possibly do, and you still don't hit the goal, that doesn't make you a failure, okay? Because you're doing the right actions, you're moving your life towards, getting better. Some things you have to realize is timing. And I'm once again, I'm not a good person at making the sun, the moon, and the stars line up and twirl. Okay, what I am good at doing is saying consistent, successful habitudes repeated daily over time will move you towards your goal and dream. And having a month where you miss volume doesn't mean you can't reshape, rethink, and get after the objective the following month. You can, because here's what ends up happening. Let's say you miss it in a particular month. What happens if you overdo it the next month? There's more pay anyway. So at the end of the day, life is going to show up. I was watching a video the other day on Instagram, and it was this massive tsunami that came in. I was watching cars drive up a street. It wasn't long, a 30-second video, and then at the same time, the cars are immediately turning around, driving back, and one of them just missed being sucked away in this, massive stream of water, right? Just came flooding in. And I remember asking myself, I'm like, man, what happened if that person had come 5 minutes earlier? Okay. Or got caught up in that particular piece, the timing, and sometimes you just got to allow. Time does two things for us. Time, exposes you or it'll promote you. And, obviously we want more promotion, none of us got here in a blink of an eye. Okay. We've developed over years and years and years to become what we are. So same thing, utilizing the system and handling, not hitting a goal for the month and turning it around.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it was, everybody would be rich and famous, of course.
And
you know what?
Here's the thing. It's like life hacks, right? It's like, listen, here's a fast way for you to get great. That's what you want. Great. That's what we have.
Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't mean it's going to be less difficult. Okay.
Yeah.
It just means that you have to learn how to handle those difficulties in a bit.
Yeah. I want you to give a little bit of advice, some suggestions to people. This is strictly for the direct selling industry. We always have that one person, that one woman, that one guy who we discover or is introduced to us by somebody in their organization. And they're the person who's going to bring 6,000 people into their business in 20 days, and they're going to make a fortune, and you're going to love them and all the rest of it. And as the month progresses, you notice they haven't called you for help. They haven't called you for a three-way. They haven't recruited anybody. They haven't signed anybody up. They haven't done any sales. Now, I know that inexperienced people who haven't had training with people like you, their tendency is to pick up the phone, and it's the old sentence: why aren't you working? Why aren't you working? What can I do? You said you had to. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? That's the exact reverse of the 80-20 system. And when people get properly trained, what I discovered when I was training with people, I would say, look, if they're not doing 80-20, don't you fall into the trap of what they're doing, and just let them go. If they're going to work, they're going to work. I mean, you can give them one phone call and say, is there something I can help you with? And just leave it at that. But you know what? Is it not true that if you drag somebody into your organization, you're going to end up dragging them around anyway, and it's going to take up all of your time, which could be more valuably used doing an 80-20 activity, right? I mean, it's almost like a full circle, right?
Well, I think so. Here's what we have to do to get over aren't going perfect. Number one, you talk about the loss, but don't leave it there. Like, so that'd be you and I, hey, listen, you know what, that advertising's gonna work, or whatever the issue is, but don't leave it there. Now let's go. Here's my suggestions to make it work. So don't bring up don't just leave it where it's a bad situation, because you're not learning from that. You're complaining. Okay. And nobody likes whingers, complainers, and this, that, and the other. It's okay to say, yes, let's talk about the low, but at the same time, have a solution, have a strategy that's going to lead you out of that particular low, and say, here's what I haven't done, and we all know somebody. I do this in the workshops. We all know somebody who we've been putting off calling, even though you think they may say no. You're not living in that person's shoes. You don't know their time. You don't know their mindset. You don't know where they are. You just know that they're not in your sales organization. So do yourself a favor. Keep the soup warm. Now, keeping the soup warm is like you go into a restaurant and it says, hey, listen, here's our 2 soups for the day. And you're starving. You're like, hey, well, in addition to your salad and your main course and everything else, you start out with a cup of soup. Nobody wants cold soup. Okay. Keeping the soup warm is you touch the relationships, whether they're in your business, not you're just reaching out. And that allows several things to take place. One, it tells you the temperature of where your person for doing this last minute sale and what have you is. Have they had a change of mind? And that happens. People change their minds all the time. Okay. I mean, change your mind is making a decision. One of the other things we talked about in these episodes. And the third thing is that, hey, you never know timing is right, and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right. So it's best to just reach out, keep the soup warm. Hey, thinking of you, send them a text message. Hey, if you're open to talking about some business stuff, are you ready to join yet? Or, you just do that as much as you can. and you allow the chips to fall where they fall. But some people will say yes, some people say no.
Yeah.
If everybody said yes, it'd be fantastic. It's not that way.
Yeah. Just to wrap this up, I love what when we talk about having high days and low days and good days and bad days, I love what Esther Hicks wrote about this, and she said if you don't have a bad day, how are you ever going to be able to judge that you're having a good day? So life is about contrasts, and building a business is about contrasts. And some people will say yes, some people will say no. Some say yes, some say no. So what?
Next.
Next, exactly. How to deal with high and low days. Hey, listen, we're coming up to our 25th anniversary, Adam.
Wow.
Adam, our 25th episode is coming up. What are we going to talk about next?
Well, I'm going to leave that to be a surprise for next week, but I will tell everybody this, that very shortly, we're also going to start doing some of our coursework together. And that means that we'll actually go through, you having a planner and actually having our attention as helping you get through what you got to do. And also finding the encouragement and the inspiration to say, hey, you've got, me on the phone or Gene on the phone to actually help you. And we'll get through that too. We'll talk about that later.
And that'll be a high day. Thanks for this, Adam.
Okay.
I hope you're a high performance leader right now. I've loved these episodes, and we love having you on them with us. Get your daily planner at 802365.com. For Adam Vincent Gilmer, I'm your host, Gene Velitis. See you on the next episode with an exciting announcement. Yay!